So, in the previous classes, we were discussing from chapter 9 and chapter 10, wherein we saw how Bharata Maharaj, he went through 3 lifetimes. Bharata Maharaj as the king, Bharata Maharaj as the deer, Bharata Maharaj as the Brahmana Bharata. So being a Brahmana Bharata, he had to reciprocate and he had to interact with so many different people. First with his parents, then with his brothers, then with the dacoits, and then finally with the king, whose palanquin manager employed him in carrying palanquin. While doing so, seeing the hands walking on the roadside, he was moving slowly and sometimes he would stop, which caused inconvenience for the king, and king became unhappy. Initially, he chastises the palanquin bearers. Why are you doing like this? The other 3 palanquin bearers said that no, we are doing properly. Only this one fourth person is not doing properly. Then sarcastically, he talks to the fourth person, that is the Brahmana Bharata, saying that oh, you are old, you are tired, you walked a long distance, you carried a lot of weight alone, and others are not cooperating. You are alone working hard, something like that. So Brahmana Bharata slightly smiled and started walking. And again doing the same thing, seeing a lot of hands on the roadside. This time king became very angry, shouted at Brahmana Bharata very harshly, scolding him left and right. And this time Brahmana Bharata replied, saying, yeah, actually in one sense, what you speak is actually does not applicable to me because you are treating me like a madman, but I'm not mad, I'm already self-realized. And whatever you're talking about, walking long distance, fatigue, tired, carrying the whole weight, all those things actually applicable if I consider I'm the body. Since I do not consider I'm the body, none of these things are true. And you said that you will punish me. Either case, either if I'm disobedient, you will punish me and correct me, or if I'm mad, you will punish me and correct me. So what is the use of punishing me? Because I am neither mad nor disobedient. I'm already self-realized. By punishing a self-realized person, what do you gain? You gain nothing. So like that he spoke, he became silent and he began to walk carrying the palanquin. Then, hearing these words, which are full of meaning, transcendental understanding, the the king of Sindhu and Savira, having some basic knowledge about Tattva, having the mode of goodness intact, he immediately came out of the palanquin and fell flat at the feet of Brahmana Bharata, and then, touching his feet with his head, he began to beg forgiveness from Brahmana Bharata. He also spoke some words of forgiveness and also he makes certain inquiries in order to understand more from this disguised sadhu. So that will be the rest of the chapter and the answers will be given in the next chapter. Answers for the questions will be given in the next chapter. So we'll continue from text number 16 onwards. Here, some of them are verses. We'll recite the verses and then we'll go through. कस्त्वं निगूढश्चरसि द्विजानां बिभर्षि सूत्रं कथमोऽवधूता कस्यासि कुत्रस्य इहापि कस्मात् क्षेमाय नश्चेद् असि नोत शुक्लः. Someone read the translation.
King Rahugana said, O Brahmana, you appear to be moving in this world very much covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana and saintly person? I see that you are wearing a sacred thread. Are you one of those exalted liberated saints such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced learned scholars? May I ask whose disciple you are? Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for us? Please let us know who you are.
So First of all, the king is asking that from externally speaking, you appears to be normally uncared person, neglected, uncared person. But by your words, I can understand that you are not such a person. You are really a greatly learned person. So by your words, I can understand that you are a greatly learned person. So kindly tell me, who are you? Kindly reveal your identity. So that is the inquiry here. Who are you among the Brahmanas? Hidden, you move about. So hiding your identity, you are moving about. You are a Brahmana because I see you wear sacred thread. You are not ordinary person. You are a Brahmana, and you must be a great sage. And but you are hiding your identity and walking like a normal, usual person. Which renowned sage are you? Katamu Avaduta. What kind of Avaduta are you? Whose son are you? Who are your parents? Where were you born? From which place you come from? Why did you come to this place? What is the purpose in which coming to this place? If you have come to benefit us, are you not Narayana? Are you have you come to benefit me? Are you Narayana in disguise? Are you Kapila in disguise? Are you Dattatreya in disguise? So like that, various doubts he is asking about his identity. Who are you among the Brahmanas since you wear the thread? Are you Dattatreya, the Avaduta Brahmana? And whose son are you? Who are your parents? So whose parents are, whose son are you? Who are your parents? And then which state were you born in? If you have come to benefit us, are you Lord Narayana? Or are you Lord Kapila? Or are you Lord Dattatreya? Who are you? Please tell me. Please reveal your identity. So this was the first inquiry. And the next two verses, he will express his fears. Because having looked at that sacred thread, having understood his transcendental nature, in one sense, he was afraid actually. So that's what he is trying to put. So the Brahmana Bharata, hoping that the Brahmana Bharata might ask that sitting on your palanquin, what is the use of reflecting in this way? Thinking like that, he immediately asks another question. He says the reason for his fear. So in one sense, he may say that what is the use of becoming so much afraid? You are a Kshatriya. Why are you afraid? So for which, so being a Kshatriya, what does not give him fear and what gives him fear? So these two things will be mentioned in the next two verses. So first verse he said that what he is not afraid of. Naham vishanke suraraj vajran न तर्क्ष्यशूलान्नयमस्य दण्डात् नाग्न्यर्कसोमानिलवित्तपास्रात् शङ्के भृशं ब्रह्मकुलावमानात्.
My dear sir, I am not at all afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra, nor am I afraid of the serpentine piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, nor am I afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapons of Kuvera. Yet I am afraid of offending a Brahmana. I am very much afraid of this.
So in the previous verse he said that what kind of Avaduta Brahmana are you? Who are your parents? Which is your place, etc. If at all you are not Avaduta Brahmana, but you are one of the Devatas, and I have employed you in carrying my palanquin. So even if you happens to be a Devata and having feeling offended, becoming angry, wants to fight with me, I will not be afraid for that because I know when somebody superior fights with me in the battle, and they're being defeated by them or being killed by them is also glorious. Both are glorious. So from that point of view, if you are King Indra, I am not afraid of Indra's thunderbolt. If you are Lord Shiva, I am not afraid of the Trishul of Lord Shiva. I am ready to be killed by the Trishul, no problem. If you are Yamaraj, I am not afraid of the Yamadanda. Hmm? And if you are fire, Agni, I am not afraid of your fire. If you are Surya, I am not afraid of your weapon. If you are Chandra, I am not afraid of your weapons. If you are Vayu, I am not afraid of your weapons. And even if you are Kuvera, I am not afraid of your weapons. But if you are not a Kshatriya, if you are not a Devata, but if you happens to be a Brahmana, I will be afraid of offending a Brahmana. Offense to Brahmana, there is no remedy in one sense. So from that point of view, is kind of throwing away all the other possibilities. If you happen to be a king, I'm ready to fight with you. Being defeated by you and being killed by you, also I'm okay. If you happens to be a devata, then also okay. But if you happens to be a brahmana, who generally do not retaliate, and I'm afraid of offending a brahmana. Therefore, please reveal your identity. Who are you? If if the devatas, if they try to kill me in battle with their weapons, I am not afraid, since I have my natural courage. Being a Kshatriya, I'll fight as much as I can fight, and then I'll be killed by them. I will obtain Veera Mrityu, something like that. Rather, experience joy in such competition. Or, having offended them, I do not fear them when they attack me in anger with their weapons. But if you happens to be a great Brahmana, great Rishi, and offending a Brahmana, I cannot remain peaceful. I am afraid of that. So, therefore, please reveal your identity. It's like that. So then he says, you happens to look like a jada, a dull person. So that's why our people have employed you. But why? Why? What is the need for you to carry this kind of attire and appearance, which causes confusion? Therefore, please tell me what is the purpose in you traveling here and there. So like that, he will inquire in the next verse. तद्ब्रूय सङ्गो जडवन्निगूढा विज्ञानवीर्यो विचरस्य पारा त्वचांसि योगा गति ग्रथितानि साधो नानाक्षमन्ते मनसापि भेत्तुम्.
My dear sir, it appears that the influence of your great spiritual knowledge is hidden. Factually, you are bereft of all material association and fully absorbed in the thought of the Supreme. Consequently, you are unlimitedly advanced in spiritual knowledge. Please tell me why you are wandering around like a dullard. O great saintly person, you have spoken words approved by the yogic process, but it is not possible for us to understand what you have said. Therefore, kindly explain it.
So here he says that, please speak, not associating with the material world, appearing dull-witted, Jadavat, but having the power of realized knowledge, Niguda Vijnana Viryo. You wander about with no superior with you. So you appears to be a student, something like that, thinking like that, and you are a person full of knowledge, but externally you seem to be dull-witted, but internally you have no attachment, no association with the material world and people of this world and things of this world. But if you are a knowledgeable person, generally they travel in a group. You are traveling alone and you are very much young. There is no superior along with you. Why are you traveling alone? Oh saint, I am not able to understand your words about yoga, though I am trying with my attentive mind. So, having said this, having begged forgiveness, having requested to reveal his identity, then in order to start conversation, he starts saying that, my dear sage, you said something, but I did not follow what you said. I am trying to understand with best of my abilities, but I could not understand it. Can you please explain what you have said properly? Just to start conversation, he's asking. He begins to ask uh, for more details. Therefore, please speak and say who you are. Then Brahmana Bharata said that I am your palanquin bearer. Enough with trying to fool me. I know that you are a great yogi because your words about yoga cannot be understood by my mind. You speak in such a great eloquence, so your words I cannot comprehend. So can you please explain the actual import of those words? Something like that. He's asking. So that means you are not ordinary person because you are not speaking ordinarily. So in that way. Or words concerning the yoga process, the teachings of the great yogis have not been able to cut my doubts since I am very tough. Though I desire to understand those words with my attentive mind without argument, but my doubts have been cut by your answers today. I had such kind of doubts from beginning, but today your words seems to be cut those doubts. But still, I want better understanding of those words. Something like that. In order to start conversation, he is asking for further explanation. Hare Krishna, all of you there? Able to
Yes,
follow?
Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So, like that, step by step, he slowly, matlab, in order to inspire him to speak more and more, so that he will be benefited from his association. So, he is asking, he is slowly striking the conversation. So, in that way. So, the next he says, Aham cha yogeshwaramatmattatva vidamuninam paramam gurum vai प्रष्टुं प्रवृत्ता किमिहार्णवं तत् साक्षादरिं ज्ञानकलावतीर्णम्.
I consider your good self the most exalted master of mystic power. You know the spiritual science perfectly well. You are the most exalted of all learned sages, and you have descended for the benefit of all human society. You have come to give spiritual knowledge, and you are a direct representative of Kapil Deva, the incarnation of God, and the plenary portion of knowledge. I am therefore asking you, O spiritual master, what is the most secure shelter in this world?
So, in order to start the conversation, he begins to ask um, about Atma Tattva. I now inquire from you, the master of yoga, the best guru of the sages, knowing about Atma. Atma Tattva Vidam Muninam Paramam Guru. Is telling that you seem to be not a ordinary person. You seem to be the guru of the knowers of Atma. So you seem to be the guru of the self-realized stages. So you are not an ordinary person. So you please uh, cut my doubts and help me understand the nature of Atma. And you're the best guru. You are the best guru of sages knowing about Atma, about the shelter in this world. So what kind of person are you? You are the best guru of the sages knowing about Atma, and you are the best guru about the shelter in this world. What should be taken as shelter in this world? The Lord Himself. The best shelter to be taken in this world is the Lord Himself, who appeared as a portion of knowledge as Lord Kapila Dev. So he seems to be a representative of Lord Kapila. So you are well equipped with knowledge, so you can clarify my doubts. So please help me understand about Atma in more detail. So that like that. The chief among the great yogis will be able to cut my doubts. So you are one such you are the chief among the great yogis. So you definitely cut my doubts. That is indicated in this verse. Sakshat Hari means Lord Kapila Deva, who appeared for giving knowledge as a portion of the Lord's Jnana. So in the first canto, first third chapter, when many avatars have been described, 21, 22, something like that, avatars have been presented in that particular chapter. So for the 28th verse of the chapter 3, that Krishnastu Swayam Bhagavan, Ete Chamsha Kalapamsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Rudayanti Yugege. In that purport, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti says that Lord has 6 opulences and Lord appears in many avatars. So some avatars specifically appear in order to display one of his opulences. Not all the opulences, but one of his opulences are specifically displayed by some of the avatars. That knowledge potency of the Supreme Lord is revealed by the avatars such as Lord Kapila, Lord Matsya, and Lord Dattatreya, and the 4 Kumaras. So these people appeared to display the opulence of the Lord, that is knowledge opulence. So then in order to display the beauty of the Lord, beauty is also one opulence of the Lord. Lord Vamana, Lord Rama, and then Lord, who is the person appeared in Samudra Manthan past time along with the nectar pot? Dhanvantari. Lord Dhanvantari and Mohini Murti. They appear to display the, I think Lord Ram, not beauty. Lord Balram, I think Lord Balram is the beauty. Lord Ram is about fame. The opulence fame is displayed by Lord Rama and a few other avatars. And Virya, the Shakti, that is displayed by Parusharama and Lord Varaha, I suppose Lord Narasimha. They displayed that strength. So like that, the various avatars have been indicated in those places. Like some of these avatars have indicated those opulences. Like that is telling, here you appeared to display the knowledge. So Lord Kapila appeared to display the knowledge. So in that way, are you the disciple of Lord Kapila? Like that he is telling. So basically, is um, so that you should not feel offended in that way, something like that. I'll just read out for you for your benefit. Lord Narasimha, Lord Parashurama, Lord Kalki, and the Purushavasaras, they display the power, they display the strength. Narada, Vyasa, Varaha, and Buddha show Dharma. So Narada Muni shows Bhagavad Dharma. Vyasadeva also shows Bhagavad Dharma by compiling all the Vedic literatures. Varaha is Dharma personified, and Lord Buddha also comes to establish Dharma. So in that way, because they preach various paths of Dharma. Then Lord Rama, Lord Dhanvantari, Lord Yajna, and King Prithu display fame. Okay, these people are fame personified. Lord Rama is famous. Dhanvantari is also famous for Ayurveda. Yajna, Lord Yajna is famous for Yajna. King Prithu is also famous for his rule. And then beauty. Lord Balrama, Mohini Murti, Vamana display beauty. These people are examples of beauty. Lord Dattatreya, Lord Matsya, Kumaras, and Lord Kapila display knowledge. They should be known by the wise. So as I mentioned, these 4 people, Lord Kapila, the 4 Kumaras, Lord Matsya, and Dattatreya displayed the knowledge. Naranarayan Rishis, Kurma, and Lord Rishabha displayed the detachment by their respective activities. So Kurma carrying the entire Bhumandala and remains indifferent. And Narana and Rishi are performing tapasya since the beginning of the creation. They are indifferent to what's happening around. Lord Rishabha, we also saw recently that what kind of renunciation he displayed, no one can do. And finally, Lord Krishna is the great ocean of complete sweetness and complete display of the six Aishwaryas mentioned in the other forms. He contains all avatars within himself and is the possessor of all Shaktis. So, like that. All the other avatars display one of the opulences prominently and other opulences also here and there. But Lord Krishna displays all the six opulences in complete. That is the specialty of Lord Krishna. So, this is one way. Just I remembered. So, the book was there next to me, so I read out. So, it is like that. So, he is asking that, are you the representative of Lord Kapila, the incarnation of knowledge? If I think you are so you should be able to cut my all my doubts and enlighten me. So he's inspiring him to speak, to answer his questions. So like that.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Prabhuji, whatever we just read, like how we understand Buddha as the incarnation of Dharma, because he rejected, for the time being, for specific reason, he rejected Vedas and Vedic principles that time. Still,
Mm.
he is considered as a incarnation of Dharma, so it was a little difficult.
Because at that time that kind of principles are required, so he taught it. That's why he displayed dharma. It's
Yeah, but
dharma
for
is what is the see Bhagavad Gita we see na why dharma yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyudhanam dharmasya tadatmanam sujamiham. So as per the time and place, when dharma is declining and something else is becoming more prominent as dharma, so Lord comes in some form and tries to bring onto right track. So people were so much attracted to these karmakanda rituals and causing so much violence. So temporarily, Lord stopped them from that unnecessary violence. But when Lord Buddha was around, that time if somebody followed that dharma, they attained perfection. But when that dharma became outdated by introducing the superior dharma by some of the Lord's representatives, still one clings on to that. That is the problem.
okay, because still there are so many Bauddha Panthi, and some of the
Ah,
countries are completely Bauddha followers.
like that we discussed in the previous class, na? Lord Rishabhadeva, what he did that was required for the previous three yugas. But clinging on to that in Kali Yuga is not recommended.
Yeah.
Hmm. So that is the problem.
So Lord's rejecting Vedas for a particular maintaining of particular principles of Dharma, that is also the part of following Dharma. That way we
Hmm.
should understand.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on. Any other devotees have any question?
No, Prabhuji, thank you.
Savai Bhavalloka Nirikshanaartam Avyaktalingo Vicharati Apisvit Yogeshwaranam Gatimanda Buddhi Katam Vichakshita Grihanubandha.
Is it not a fact that your good self is the direct representative of Kapil Dev, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to examine people and see who is actually a human being and who is not? You have presented yourself to be deaf and dumb person. You are not moving this way upon the surface of the world. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? I am very attached to family life and worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Nonetheless, I am now present before you, and I am seeking enlightenment from you. How can I advance in spiritual life?
Having indicated that you must be a disciple or a representative of Lord Kapila. That's what I can infer. So now, if you are so, I am a person attached to household order. I am a person attached to household comforts. So please help me come out of that. Please deliver me. So like that, he is continuing his inquiry. Are you Kapila Deva? but hiding your identity, wandering about to examine the world. Previous verse he said you must be a repentant Kapila. That may be also wrong. Are you Kapila Deva himself? But whatever it is, whether you are Kapila Deva or representative of Kapila Deva, either case, you are a person of knowledge. But I, on the other hand, how can a person bound to family life, a person like me bound to family life, blind to spiritual knowledge, know the movements of the masters of yoga like you? See, here he is giving a reason for his mistake. See, you are a transcendental person moving indifferent to the worldly activities and worldly things, but a person like me who is attached to family life, who is bound by family life, how can blind to spiritual knowledge, how can I understand that you are transcendental nature? Externally you seems to be normal and internally you are a great personality. I cannot infer that. So so he's telling this, indicating that I am ignorant. So please give me knowledge by which I can understand who is who. In the future, I will not make such a mistake of um, causing trouble to a great soul like you. So like that. Are you Lord Kapila? The person with blind intelligence refers to himself, the king himself calling himself as the blind, um, not a knowledgeable person, so unintelligent person. So in that way. So now he starts asking questions based on what Bharata spoke. Initially, he said something for which Bharata answered. Taking the answer as a reference, he will ask a question. दृष्टाश्रमकर्मतात्मनो वै भर्तुर्गन्तुर्भवतश्चानुमन्ये यथा सतो नयनादभवत् समूल इष्टो व्यवहारमार्गः.
You have said, I am not fatigued from labor, although the soul is different from the body. There is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture. You have also said that the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not factual. But although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things. That is visible and experienced. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue.
Yeah, here he is going to make an inquiry, starting a conversation based on the answer given by Brahmana Bharata. It is observed that I become fatigued from performing actions. I understand that as per my experience, I understand when we perform activity, we become fatigued. When you carry the palanquin or move, matlab, or walk from one place to other place, then you experience fatigue. This is my inference. One cannot reject the conventional world since one cannot reject the conventional world. What's happening around us, we cannot reject it as illusory. For which he gives an example. If somebody says that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, everything is illusory, what's happening is all illusory. So this is my understanding, like that he says. Since one cannot carry water with a false pot, one must accept the conventional practical world based on the evidence. If somebody says that everything is illusory, if somebody asks, bring me water. So if the water is illusory and pot is illusory, a person just closing hands like couple palms and says that okay, this is the pot, this is the water, take it. The person who is thirsty, he will say, are you gone mad or what? Where is water? Where is pot? So, but in a practical world, we actually deal with the objects, deal with the matter, and the result of that, we become fatigued when we perform activity. How can we deny it? So like that, he's asking. For which he gives the answer in the next chapter. The king thought, I will begin questioning Kapila Deva. Having met him on the road, I will first reject his answers, and in that way discover all that I asked about him. So first of all, I reject his answer so that I'll get proper answers with proper understanding. Like that. First, Bharata said he was not tired. King inferred as follows: You become tired by carrying a load, by carrying a load, since you are the doer. So when we carry some weight, eventually in due course of time, since we do that activity, we become tired. So you said you are not tired. How can I understand that? The doer becomes tired, just as I become tired when I fight. I as a king, when I go for fight, in the evening I become tired. Similarly, anyone does something, they become tired. One cannot say that this is how people speak in this world, but spiritual people do not talk in this manner, since one cannot uproot practical existence. So you cannot say that, okay, you people like you, the worldly people might say that I become tired, I carry load, all these things, but spiritual people, they are indifferent to the material activity, they are indifferent to bodily activities. They are situated transcendentally, so they don't, they never become tired like that. They may say, one may say like that, but one cannot uproot the practical existence. One cannot deny the practical world. Then he gives an example. If one says, bring water by means of the pot, one cannot bring water using a non-existent pot. So if somebody is thirsty and asks, get me some water in that pot. So somebody says that, but if they is following that that knowledge aspect, pot does not exist, water does not exist. Then what is this? Material existence is actually approved as real. Thus, by inference, the material world is real because of real objects and real doers. The objects around us, they are all real. And the people around us, they are all real. And the people using all those objects perform various activities. All those activities are also real. We cannot deny that the people are imaginary, objects are imaginary, their activities are all imaginary. We cannot do that. We have to accept the practical world. What is not real does not have objects and doers. When you say something is illusory, the illusory phenomena have neither people nor objects. If the world is unreal, then there is no pot and no one to carry the water. So if you say that the world is unreal, the objects are unreal, then why would somebody becomes hungry or thirsty and ask for water? Why would somebody brings water and gives him and he drinks water and he becomes normal? He becomes satisfied. If it is unreal, if it is illusory, then the thirst should be illusory and water should be illusory, drinking water should be illusory, feeling satisfied should be illusory. Like that, he asked the question. So basically, simple question is that when he said initially, he said that sarcastically, he said that you already tired, you walked a long distance, you carrying the entire load alone. Then, in answer to that, he said that I am not tired because I am not on the bodily platform. Then, for that, he is telling that how can you say that you are not tired? The practical world around us, the objects are true, activities are true. When a person performs any activity, he feels tired. And what by what you will say that you are not tired? So, though king understands based on his knowledge, but he wants proper and understand more understandable answer from the Brahmana Bharata. So like that, he makes this inquiry. And this inquiry comes to the previous discussion. And now we will make a new inquiry. According to his little understanding, he substantiates the previous shloka with a new example in the next shloka. ताल्यग्नितापात् पयसोभितापास् तत्तापतस्तण्डुलगर्भरन्ध्रिः देहेन्द्रियाश्वास्य सन्निकर्षात् तत्संश्रुतिपुरुषस्यानुरोधात्.
King Rahugana continued, My dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul. That is incorrect because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated, one after another. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning.
So by saying another example, he want to extract more and more clear understanding from Ramana Bharata. By applying heat to the pot, the milk in the pot becomes hot. Because of the hot milk, the rice in the milk gets cooked. Similarly, because of connection with the body, senses, life airs, and mind, samsara of the jiva takes place because of successive influence of the coverings on Atma. Just like there is rice in the milk, which is in the pot, which is on the stove, on the fire, gets cooked when the fire is on by the successive connection. Similarly, the Atma is situated with the covering of subtle body made up of mind, which is covered by subtle life airs, which are covered by senses, which are covered by the material gross body. So as a result of that, the Atma is bound in the material existence in samsara. So how can you say that it is beyond the influence of samsara? So like that. An example is given to illustrate that the Atma becomes tired because of fatigue of the body and senses from carrying a load. Because of the heat of the fire on a pot, the milk within it becomes hot. Because of the heat of the milk, the outer portion of the rice becomes hot. Then the inside portion of the rice grains becomes cooked. Similarly, because of relationship with the body, senses, life airs, and mind, samsara of the Atma occurs. Because Atma is closely connected to all these things, samsara will manifest. This takes place from successive effects on the covering of Atma. For example, for instance, because of the sun's heat in the summer, currently the summer is going on, because of sun's heat, the body becomes hot. Because body becomes hot, the senses become hot. Because the senses become hot, then the life airs become hot. Because the life airs become hot, then the mind becomes hot. When the mind becomes hot, the Atma becomes hot. Just like the milk pot, there is fire on the stove, there is a pot, milk, and the grains. So because of the fire, slowly, one after the other, everything becomes hot. Same way under a sunny day, first the body becomes hot, then senses become hot, then the life airs become hot, mind becomes hot, and the soul becomes hot. So this is a normal understanding with a normal example. So is it not like that? He is asking question to Brahmana Bharata. So for these two verses, the answer will be given in the next chapter, chapter 11. Then, if uh, further continues the inquiry. शास्ताभिगोप्ता नृपतिप्रजानां यः किङ्करो वै नपि नस्ति पिष्टम् स्वधर्ममाराधनमच्युतस्य यदि आत्मनो विजहाति अगौगम्.
My dear sir, you have said that the relationship between the king and the subject or between the master and the servant are not eternal. But although such relationships are temporary, when a person takes the position of a king, his duty is to rule the citizens and punish those who are disobedient to the laws. By punishing them, he teaches the citizens to obey the law of the state. Again, you have said that punishing a person who is deaf and dumb is like chewing the chew or grinding the pulp. That is to say, there is no benefit in it. However, If one is engaged in his own occupational duty as ordered by the Supreme Lord, his sinful activities are certainly diminished. Therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duty by force, he benefits because he can vanquish all his sinful activities in that way.
So another discussion which Bharat Maharaj did based on that is asking this inquiry. Even if his position is impermanent, when a person is a king, he becomes the punisher and protector of the citizens. So that time he said that you think that you are the king and you want to punish me? How long you will continue as a king? Today you may be king, I am a pauper, but tomorrow I'll become king, you will become pauper. Then what is the use of saying that I'll punish you? Then the king says that no problem. I may be king temporarily, but as long as I am king, I have the authority to punish the wrongdoers. That you cannot deny that. You cannot say that since your position as a king is only temporary, only for 10 years, so you do not punish. For those 10 years, I should punish. I have the authority to punish. So like that. Yes. Though you say punishing a dull person is useless, one who is servant of the Lord does not act uselessly. You say that what is the use of punishing a dull person? Instead of correcting him, you will increase his madness only. So, but on the other hand, from king's side, so whether one is dull or impudent, if one is not following the orders of the king, they can be punished because king is the representative of supreme lord. He punishes. His punishment is not based on personal motive, but it is based on the law. So like that. The king in performing his dharma of punishing the citizens when they do wrong things, which is the worship of the Lord, destroys all his sins. So that is king says according to the understanding, when people does not follow the proper code of conduct, the king punishes. That is his dharma. As a result of that, he will destroy all his sins. So in that way. You have said if the states of the if the positions of the servant and master were permanent, even if these positions are impermanent, when a person is the king, as long as one is a king, he is the punisher and the protector of the citizens. You have said giving punishment to a dull person has no effect, like grinding already ground floor. But a servant of the Lord, like me, a king who is the representative of Supreme Lord, does not act uselessly. Since even if a person's dullness does not go away by punishment, by fulfilling the order of the Lord, one becomes successful. So it is not that every person is a dull person, but punishment has to be carried out when when people does not follow the order of the king. So in that way, by which the king fulfill the order of the Supreme Lord and become successful. Following his prescribed dharma by punishing the citizens when they do wrong things, that is his worship and destroys all his sins. So like that. So basically, the king is presenting according to his understanding. Why? By saying these things, he wants to hear more from the sage, the Brahmana Bharata. In a one sense, he is opposing his the previous statements of the Brahmana Bharata, so that he will get more profound answer for the same.
Hare Krishna.
Ah, Mataji.
Prabhuji, this is there is little confusion in understanding this that like King Rahugana is asking Bharat Maharaj or Jad Bharat the question now.
Hmm.
That whatever he said is fine. That yeah, we have studied that in previous chapters also. That one has to follow the Varnashram principle, and if one follows the Varnashram dharma properly, that also helps the person to nullify or reduce his sinful activities or karmas in that way.
Hmm.
But here, what King Rahugana is referring to means he is saying that he said na, that by force also, if the king has to engage the citizens in as per their varna, then
Hmm.
it will be helpful for them. So
Hmm.
he is meaning that Bharat Maharaj or Jad Bharata was forcefully engaged in the activity of carrying the palanquin of the king,
Hmm.
which would have been, suppose if he was not Jad Bharata,
Hmm.
is a ordinary person or
Hmm.
Shudra like that, then that would have helped him to reduce his karma by carrying the palanquin of the king,
Hmm.
because he's doing activity as per his varna. That is how
Hmm.
it has to be understood.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
तन्मे भवान्नरदेवाभिमाना मदेन तुच्छीकृतसत्तमस्य कृषिष्टमैत्री दृशमार्तबन्धो यथा तरे सद् अवदानमंहा.
Whatever you have spoken appears to me to be contradictory. O best friend of the distressed, I have committed a great offense by insulting you. I was puffed up with false prestige due to possessing the body of a king. For this, I have certainly become an offender. Therefore, I pray that you kindly glance at me with your causeless mercy. If you do so, I can be relieved from sinful activities brought about by insulting you.
Yeah, he further continues. O friend of the distressed, O Arthabandhu, please show your friendly glance, compassionate glance on this person who has insulted the greatest of devotee. You are a great devotee, and only I insulted you by implying you carry my palanquin out of false identity as a king. I was thinking that I thinking that I was a king and you are an ordinary person and the papa on the roadside. I have engaged by engaging you in carrying my palanquin. I committed a great offense. So please, by your compassionate glance upon me, kindly forgive me, so that I can overcome the sin of neglecting the devotee. So, in that way, since your statements appear to me contrary, glance upon me with affection. I have been intoxicated with false identity as a king, thinking myself learned and being falsely proud. Because of this, I have offended the greatest devotee. See, externally you appear to be a normal person, but by your words I can understand you are a great devotee. Your words indicate your contrary personality. You display something, but you are actually something else. So, but whatever it is, because of your external appearance, I made a mistake of employing you in carrying the palanquin, for which you please forgive me. So, like that, he's asking with a compassionate laugh on that. I thought, what do these people know? So, initially, uh, when I employed you, I thought, what do you people know? Because of this, I will fall to hell. Thinking that I only know everything and you people does not know anything, I committed a mistake and for which I fall to hell. Thinking in this way, show an affectionate glance unto me, by which I will be able to cross the sin of insulting the great devotee. So two mistakes. One is employing him in carrying the palanquin. Second one is treating him as the ignorant fool. So both way I committed mistake for which I go to hell unless until you forgive me. So like that. And then in the last verse also, he kind of pleads further to forgive him and also to enlighten him by answering for his inquiries. Na vikriya vishwasurussakasya साम्येन वीताभिमते स्तवापि महद्विमान स्वकृताद्धिमदृन् नङ्क्ष्यति अदूराद् अपि शूलपाणिः.
Uh, oh, my dear Lord, you are the friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the friend of all living entities. You are therefore equal to everyone, and you are free from bodily conception. Although I have committed an offense by insulting you, I know that there is no loss or gain for you due to my insult. You are fixed in your determination. but I have committed an offense. Because of this, even though I may be as strong as Lord Shiva, I shall be vanquished without delay due to my offense at the lotus feet of Vaishnava.
Same thing, if further continues. Because of the great offense I have committed to you, who are the friend of the Supreme Lord, Vishwasuru Sakatya, who is the friend of all. The Supreme Lord is the friend of all, and you are his friend. So, and I committed against you. So, it's a great offense. To you, who are free from false identity without Abhimana, and see all beings as your own self, Samyana. You are actually considerate about the ants which might be there, which might be killed when you walk on the road. Such kind of person are you. Persons like me, and even up to Lord Shiva, Apishula Pani, are quickly destroyed, even if you are not disturbed by the offenses. Person like me, even up to Lord Shiva, if they knowingly or unknowingly commit offense against people like you, who are dear friends of the Supreme Lord, will surely be destroyed. So, like that. Though you may not take the offense seriously, but because of that offense, the Lord will take seriously and will be destroyed. So then he says that, but I do not suffer because of your offense. What is the question of counteracting it? So when Bharata says that, no, no, I have not taken anything seriously, there was no suffering to me, there was no mistake on your part, don't worry. But still, he says that, even though you are not disturbed, persons like me get destroyed. Even persons like Lord Shiva are also affected by such no known or unknown offense toward the great devotees of the Supreme Lord. The same thing is mentioned in the fourth canto some time back. नाच्चर्यमेतद् यततस्तु सर्वदा महद्विनिन्दा कुनपात्मव्यादिषु शेर्ष्यं महापूरुषपाद पांशुभिः निरस्ततेजासु तदेव शोभनम्. Wherein in the fourth chapter of the fourth canto, it was the it is this verse is spoken by Mother Sati unto Daksha, because Daksha committed a great offense against Lord Shiva. So she is actually criticizing or scolding Daksha before she would burn herself with the fire. It is not surprising that the materialistic people, claiming that the gross body, the soul, constantly criticize the devotees with envy and become deprived of their powers by the dust from the feet of those great devotees. Personalities like you, my dear Daksha, my dear father, considering the body to be self, unknowingly commit offenses toward the great devotees of Supreme Lord. But ignorantly you may commit offense, but the dust below their feet does not keep quiet. They may keep quiet, but the dust does not keep quiet. What the dust will do? The glory of that criticism is the result it gives. How does the dust will act? Respond by giving appropriate results. The criticism itself has a kind of results that it will destroy the person who criticizes a great devotee. So in that way, that is what she said to Daksha, and then eventually Sati invokes fire and burns herself. So like that, so all these examples say that even personality like Lord Shiva also will be destroyed by offense to great devotee. Then what to speak of me? So please forgive me. So like that. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, like here two things are mentioned that King Rahugana compares himself that even if I have the prowess like Lord Shiva. So whether there is any reference in any scripture that he was as powerful as Lord Shiva, because otherwise nobody will self glorify like that, not to this extent that comparing
No,
oneself
no.
to the
It is not like that. He is telling him like that. Even a person like Lord Shiva also will be affected by offense to great devotee. Then what to speak of me? So like that.
But is there any example like that Lord Shiva offended somebody and he faced problem
No,
due
no,
to
no,
Vaishnavism?
no, 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 no. See, when example is given, it is quoted even to a great person also. If a great person also gets affected, small person, why not? So there are no such examples, Lord Shiva.
So there is no example, it's just
Hmm.
imaginary thing that if
Yes,
ऐसे
yes.
बड़े डिवोटी को भी कुछ हो जाएगा तो भी he will be banned.
Hmm.
But in a way, it appears little odd, no, Prabhuji? Like,
No, not
means
odd. That means even a personality like Lord Shiva also remains careful. Then what to speak of person like me? I should also be careful. So like that. From that context, you should take.
but Shri as Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, so he is Mahavaishnava. Just
Hmm.
because there is no reference that anything of that sort he has committed any time or it has happened any time. But just to take him in the conversation that उन्होंने भी कुछ किया तो वो भी vanquish हो जाएगा. It is little too bold up.
No, no, not like that. Don't take it like that. That means that in indicating that one should be careful. The offense to a devotee of the Supreme Lord is so detrimental. To indicate that it
Okay.
is not to demean Lord Shiva, but it is to highlight the importance
So
of
the
master
highest
name.
of Vaishnava, the highest
Hmm.
of Vaishnava will also face problem if such thing he
Hmm.
does. That
Yes, yes, yes.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other devotees, any questions?
No, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. So now let us see what kind of answers our Bharat Maharaj is going to give for these questions in the next chapter. The 11th chapter describes that the mind is the cause of samsara. So in the previous chapter, he said that okay, the samsara is happening because of the successive connection. Just like the rice is connected to the milk, milk is connected to the pot, pot is connected to the fire in the stove. That's why the rice is getting cooked. Same way, the soul is connected to the mind, mind is connected to the pranas, pranas are connected to senses, senses are connected to the body, and body is connected to the world. The person is getting affected by samsara. But he will say that no, no, the mind is the cause of samsara. That it has many transformations, and that by engaging it in bhakti, one can attain liberation. So, like that. So, this chapter will have 17 verses, and here he explains about how the mind is the cause of bondage and how the mind is the cause of liberation. So, these are the two topics will be presented in this chapter. Brahmana uvacha अकोविदाकोविदवादवादान् अकोविदाकोविदवादवादान् वदस्य तो नातिविदां वरिष्ठः नासूरयो हि व्यवहारमेनं तत्त्वावमर्शेन सह मनन्ति.
The Brahmana Jadabharata said, "My dear king, although you are not at all experienced, you are trying to speak like a very experienced man. Consequently, you cannot be considered an experienced person. An experienced person does not speak the way you are speaking about the relationship between a master and a servant or about material pains and pleasures. These are simply external activities. Any advanced, experienced man, considering the absolute truth, does not talk in this way."
Yeah, the Brahmana Bharata said, though unlearned Akovida, you are speaking words of the learned. असोचान अन्वसोचस्वन प्रज्ञावादांश भाषसे गतासु nagatasunsa nanu sochanti pandita. Just like Lord Krishna chastises Arjuna in the beginning of the second chapter. Same way here is saying, although unlearned, you are speaking words of the learned. Therefore, you are not the best among the learned. The wise do not speak of the material world by discerning it to the truth, it to be the truth. The wise people do not speak the way you speak. They do not consider the material world to be the ultimate reality and speak in relation to material world. So like that. So here we will begin. He'll begin to answer the inquiries of our King Rahugana and continues. You are not learned, but you speak words of objection like those of the wise. Therefore, you are not the best among the very wise people. Since the wise people do not speak of the material world and its objects with deliberation and truth, calling the objects substantial while giving examples, since both have false. So now I'll tell you one thing. How the last week also we discussed this and how the discussion will go on in these next 2 3 chapters. Like all of us question many times in our classes that how will I do this? Bhagavatam talks about so I-Fi philosophy. How will I employ in our day-to-day activities? So at our level, we deal with practical reality. But Srimad Bhagavatam tries to establish the ideal conduct in the level of transcendence. Many places. So here is one place. Jada Bharata, Brahmana Bharata, kindly remember his previous 3 lifetimes. As Bharata Maharaj, as a student, he went to Gurukul, studied nicely to set an ideal example of a student. Then as a householder, he took care of his family nicely to set an ideal example of Grihastha. Then as a king, he took care of the citizens very nicely to set an example as a king. And he also performed so many sacrifices for the welfare of the entire country. And as a devotee, he offered every oblation to Supreme Lord. And at the right time, enthroning his son as the next king, he went to the forest to perform Vanaprastha duties, severe austerities. That also he did to set an ideal example. So like that, he did everything. But still, because of his kingly nature, out of compassion, he forgot to do his duties. As a result, he became dear and he became serious. He was regretful. As a result of that, he does not want to involve even in a smallest of the material activity also. Just devotional activities only on the transcendental platform. As a deer, as the Brahmana Bharata, which is quite against to our current disposition. Our current disposition that we need to do everything and also bhakti. But for Bharata Maharaj, nothing else. अभी बहुत हो गया. वो सब करते 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 I was bound. King's nature is to show compassion. I was thinking I am the king. I was the king. I was supposed to show the compassion to the deer. As a result of that, I have to stay back here. I have to extend. So no more material activities. No more dharmas of this world. Only the transcendental dharma. Only the transcendental activities. Nothing else. So since he is on that platform, his mindset is on the platform, his presentation is also on that platform. Whatever he speaks, everything is on that platform. So for us, at least for us, we should understand that what he is speaking should be attained. That we may not be able to implement today at our current level, but we should aspire to come to that point. That should be our ideal. But what we should do now, that we may not get it from Bharat Maharaj, because he is not doing any worldly activities. He cannot tell us what to do in the current in the practical world. So kindly remember this and see his answers. Then you will appreciate his answers. Otherwise, you may think that okay, these answers are impractical. What is speaking does not make sense. Like that, we may think. So kindly remember this and go through the next 2 3 chapters. So therefore, you are not the best among the very wise, since the wise do not speak of the material world and its objects with deliberation on the truth. The wise people who are only intent on attaining the truth, they will never speak of the material world. They will never speak of the objects and activities of the material world. They only talk about the absolute truth. And they call the objects of the material world are, they never call the objects of the material world as substantial. They always treat them as insubstantial while giving examples, since both have false. The world and the objects and activities, all of them are filled with lot of faults. So the more wise people never talk about them. Then he says that You have given the example of the fire applied to the pot, which heats the milk, which cooks the rice. In this example, there is a connection of material part with the material fire. The fire is material, pot is material, milk is material, rice is material. Everything is material. Is this proper connection? Same thing you cannot imply in the case of Atma. However, there is no contact of the material senses with the liberated Atma. He is treating that Atma to be liberated. He is not keeping the Atma to be conditioned and then talking. For Bharata Maharaj, everything is speaks. He is on the level of liberated Atma, a spiritual particle. Thus, fatigue of the body does not mean the fatigue of Atma. Because Atma is already liberated, Atma is already transcendental to the body and senses and mind. It has no connection with the body, sense, and mind. Just like the material elements like the fire, pot, milk, and rice, they are all matter, they are all connected. Like that, the material body, the material senses, the material mind are interconnected. But the liberated soul is not has nothing to do with the material body connection. So whatever happens in relation to material body, material senses, material life airs, material mind has no connection to the spirit soul. Because here the spirit soul is already liberated. It is not in conditioned state. In the conditioned state, there may be the heat transmission, but not in the liberated state. So like that. Because the conditioned jiva is covered by the material body, the conditioned jiva experiences fatigue because of the fatigue of fatigued body, which is material. Your inference fails because you cannot say that you, a conditioned jiva, are the same as me, the liberated jiva. When I say I am fatigued, that is with reference that I am liberated soul. When you say you are fatigued, that is in reference to you being the conditioned souls. So thus your answer, my answer cannot be same. So like that, he is going to continue now. This is how Bharat Maharaj will be answering. Then the king says that, okay, that is fine and that is okay, I understood. But see, this is what we hear generally. The world is all based on this karma principle. But the Mimamsakal do not consider anything except attainment as Swarga as the goal of life. Thus, what is the use of discussing the truth? So you say the absolute truth is Atma and all, but the Mimamsaka say the absolute, the final object of attainment is Swarga. Going to Swarga, for which you need to perform all these Varnashram duties and other duties, etc. So if that is the highest goal, then what is the use of us talking about Atma and Paramatma? For which the Brahmana Bharata says that is true. Talking about the highest truth is not for the ignorant who are unqualified. That is explained in this verse. Yeah, yes. Among the Mimamsakas, the highest truth is Swarga. Fine. But Atma being the highest truth is not meant for the less intelligent people or unqualified people or ignorant people. All these Mimamsakas who talk about big, big things, they are all ignorant, unqualified, or less intelligent. They can't understand about Atma. Atma is not for them. Something like that. He continues in the next verse. तथैव राजन् उरुगार्ह्यमेधा वितान विद्योर्विजृम्भितेषु न वेदवादेषु हि तत्त्ववादा प्रायेण शुद्धोऽनुचकास्ति साधुः.
My dear king talks of the relationship between the master and the servant, the king and the subject, and so forth, are simply talks about material activities. People interested in material activities, which are expounded in the Veda, placing faith in their material activities. For such people, spiritual advancement is definitely not manifest.
Discussions on the absolute truth, which are devoid of violence and passion, do not generally arise in Vedic statements, filled predominantly with knowledge about proliferation of householders' sacrifices. The Vedas mainly deal with sacrifices, in which there is passion, desire to go to heaven, and there is violence, offering animals in sacrifice. And in their assembly, there will be no discussion about the absolute truth. Such kind of people who are attracted by the Mimamsa philosophy, Karmakanda philosophy, they in their assembly there will be no discussion about Atma. They only discuss about karma, Karmakanda rituals, how to perform this yajna, that yajna, and then attain Swarga for better enjoyment, like that. Just as a spiritual discussion does not arise in daily mundane activities which give visible results, so spiritual discussion certainly does not arise in Vedic statements manifesting prominently as a proliferation of sacrifice related to household life with unseen results known as karma. So just like the people, the mundane people who perform mundane activities every day to day life, they do not talk about Atma Tattva. Similarly, though people are interested in karma, interested in going to Swarga and execute all the karma kanda rituals, in their assembly also there will be no discussion about Atma or attainment of Atma. Why? Spiritual discussions are pure, without violence and without passion. So violence means animal sacrifice, passion means desire to go to Swarga. They are different from discussions of Swarga. Spiritual discussions do not generally arise in these statements. However, by performing those activities of the Vedas without desires for results and offering them to the Supreme Lord, and by knowledge and detachment, one can reach the spiritual platform. So the Mimamsakar generally are karmakandis. They are also known as kama karmis. But when their heart is purified, when they become nishkama karma yogi, that means they perform all those Vedic duties without attachment to enjoy the results, but offering the results as an offering to Supreme Lord. When their heart becomes purified of all these attachment to material enjoyment and gain some knowledge about Atma and detachment from material enjoyment, then they can reach to the spiritual platform. Then they show interest in hearing about or discussing about Atma Tattva. When the Mimamsakas transform from Sakama Karma platform to Nishkama Karma Yoga platform by performing all the Varnashtama duties as in without a desire to enjoy the results, but offering all the results as service offering to Supreme Lord. With the attainment of purification of the heart, they gain knowledge and detachment. Then they become qualified to hear and discuss about Atma Tattva. Only in their assembly there is talks about Atma Tattva. Like that, our Bharat Maharaj says. That means he says that what I am talking is for the people who are already on the transcendental platform. And what you are talking is for the people who are attracted to Karmakanda rituals of this world, who are influenced by Mimamsa philosophy.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, one small thing, like who exactly are termed as Mimamsakas?
Whoever promote Karmakanda philosophy, that you remember Bhagavad Gita second chapter, 40-41? Yomam Pushutam Vacham Pravadante Vipachita, Vedavad Artha
Um,
Partha, Nanda Sthiti Vadina. The Vedavad Artha Partha Sadhana, they are the Mimamsakas.
okay, means those experts in Karmakandiya philosophy and performance of such sacrifices. Those
Ah,
are
they are called Mimamsakas. Those who promote saying that going to Swarga is the highest goal based on the Vedas. They are Mimamsakas.
thank you.
Other devotees are following.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Then the king questions, but is it not impudent to say that you have a method of giving the karmis the truth, but then saying that you will not teach them? So is it not important that saying that okay, these karmis are not at all qualified to attain the truth? Okay, no deny them like that. For which now Bharat Maharaj answers, न तस्य तत्त्वग्रहणाय साक्षात् वरीयसीरपि वाच समासन् स्वप्ने निरुक्त्या गृहमेधि सौख्यम् न यस्य येहानुमितं स्वयं स्यात्.
A dream becomes automatically known to a person as false and immaterial, and similarly, one eventually realizes that material happiness in this life or the next, or on this planet or a higher planet, is insignificant. When one realizes this, the Vedas, although an excellent source, are insufficient to bring about direct knowledge of the truth.
So here he further continues for this question. He says that the man who by himself cannot infer the inferiority of household life, whose happiness is just like dream, cannot have access to Vedanta for understanding the highest truth. The question is that is it not imprudent to say that uh, um, the karmis are not qualified to understand about Atma? So here he gives the answer that why these Mimamsakar are not qualified to understand about Atma. The reason he says that he who cannot infer the inferiority of household happiness, which is like the dream happiness, cannot have access to Vedanta for understanding the highest truth, for understanding the Atma Tattva. That means unless until when the Sakama Karmi raises to the platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga, he does not gain the necessary qualification to enter into the topic of Vedanta about the Atma Tattva. Because Sakama Karmis are influenced by the Karmakanda rituals of the Vedas. They are only interested in performing Vedic rituals and going to Sarga and enjoy and come back. This is what is called as household happiness. Household happiness is nothing but the happiness here in this Bharata Varsha, the happiness in the Sargaloka. That is like the dream happiness for the Atma. But raising one step ahead of that, moving from the platform of Sakama Karma to Nishkama Karma Yoga, then one gains the necessary qualification to enter into the discussion of Vedanta, to discuss and hear and understand about the true nature of Atma, and hence the true nature of Paramatma, the absolute truth. The words of the Vedanta are not at all suitable for all men. Vedanta is not meant for everyone. Though those words are best for directly understanding the highest truth. Though Vedanta explains about the highest truth, but everyone is not qualified for that. As in a dream, which is momentary and false, these same men do not on their own infer the inferiority of the happiness of household life. The happiness in Bharatavarsha and the happiness in Swargaloka is like the dream happiness. But unless until a person understands that it to be a dream happiness, that kind of person is not qualified for the discussions of Vedanta. The happiness of the karmis is temporary, meager, and related to material objects. Thus, the Atma does not have a relationship with this material happiness. This happiness is false for the Atma, like the horns on a rabbit. So here he is saying that the happiness here in Bharatavarsha and the happiness in Swargaloka, it has no connection to Atma. It is actually temporary, it is meager and related to material objects. And Atma has no relation with them. So thus, in relation to Atma, the true nature of Atma, the happiness in this world is temporary or illusory, like the horns of a rabbit. The happiness of the Jnani, however, is eternal, not temporary. When the person who has self realized Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati, Tama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. The person who has come to Brahmabhuta platform, what happiness he experiences, that is not temporary, but however it is permanent, eternal. Since it is related to Brahman, there is great difference between the two. This is the usage of giving out of the highest truth. So the happiness received in Bharatavarsha and in Swargaloka, it is temporary, it is inferior, and it is meager. It is related to material objects, but the happiness related to Atma, which is related to Brahman, is eternal and not temporary, and it is entirely different from material happiness. And those people who are aspiring for Brahmananda, they are qualified for discussions of Vedanta, which talks about the absolute truth. So, like that, in the first two verses, he established that the Karmakanda section of the Vedas are for less intelligent people. The Vedanta is meant for the more intelligent and more elevated people who raised themselves above from the platform of Sakama Karma to Nishkama Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So, like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Vedanta is a part of Veda or it's a separate scripture as well?
Separate. It is separate.
Okay.
Hmm.
And Vedanta Sutra and Vedanta are same?
Same.
I'm sorry, because I don't know. We hear it many times, but actually how they are related and things we don't know much. So that,
Hmm.
and Prabhuji, here what Jadavar is saying. So we should be it should be understood that with that example of pot and pot on the fire, like he was explaining. So means those who are in the still in the samsara or sakam karma platform. So for them, the soul is like a direct contact with the mind and senses and body, and
Hmm.
that is why it gets affected with whatever happens to the body. But
Yes.
when those who are at the Nishkama Karma platform or beyond or Brahmabhuta platform, they
Hmm.
have cut off their ties, means the soul has cut off their ties with the mind and senses and body.
Hmm.
That is why these things will not matter to him, and they will be at the platform of understanding Vedanta. That's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So, why is it that generally, even though enlightened by the devotees, all men engage in material happiness? Even though we have been hearing all these things for many years, still we engage in material activities. Why? That is the question. Yavan manorajasa purushasya tatve navava tatve navattamasa vanuruddham cheto virakutibir atanoti nirankusham kushalam chetaram va.
As long as the mind of the living entity is contaminated by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, his mind is exactly like an independent, uncontrolled elephant. It simply expands its jurisdiction of pious and impious activities by using the senses. The result is that the living entity remains in the material world to enjoy and suffer pleasures and pains due to material activity.
So now in this section is going to talk about that how mind is the cause of entanglement. As long as one's mind is bound by Rajoguna, Sattvaguna or Tamaguna, the mind, like an uncontrolled mad elephant, continues to engage that person in dharma or adharma, using the knowledge, using the karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. As long as the mind is bound by the three gunas, the mind engages one in dharmic and adharmic activities with one's jnanendriyas and karmendriyas. That's what is mentioned here. As long as the mind is bound by rajas, tamas, and sattva, the mind, like an uncontrolled mad elephant, engages a saintly person in dharma, kushalam activities, or adharma, itaram, by the knowledge senses and by the action senses. So this is normal as we read in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 14, 16, 17, 18. By force, the mind with its gunas, destroying discrimination, engages in pious or sinful actions. What fault is there in the human being for this? So here the question is, even though hearing again and again by devotees, hmm, why we still engage in material happiness? The reason is that our mind is still bound by Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and Sattoguna. That's why we continue to perform material activities. Very simple.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, mind is usually the mode of goodness, isn't it?
No, it is not like that. Mind is created from mode of goodness. It is supposed to be in the mode of goodness, but it is not. Because of our training, it has been situated in lower modes also.
But where does the consciousness fit into it? Then when we say consciousness is contaminated, what does it mean?
Same thing. All the elements
150.
all the elements at the beginning are in pure state.
Yeah.
But because of our engagement in material activity, they are all contaminated.
No, what I can't understand is consciousness is a pure state. I can understand. Okay, but then where does it fit in? Ki consciousness is getting contaminated.
See, forget about consciousness. Any other element also, at the time of creation, when they are given to us, they are all pure state.
Yeah.
Even though Ahankara is a creation of Ahankara, but it is in pure state. But by employing them in material activities, they are contaminated. Just like when we purchase clothes, they are new. But wearing those clothes when we go to playground, when we play in the playground, falling down here, there, etc. By evening, the clothes become contaminated. The clothes become dirty.
Okay, bro.
The clothes by themselves are pure, but we have used them in an impure place. So they are getting contaminated by the impurity. So like that.
Okay,
So here playing in the ground means performing activities which are known as dharmic activities or dharmic activities. How we are performing activities? We are performing activities by employing jnanendriyas and karmendriyas. Like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, but then what you were discussing with Mataji, that why the pure senses and pure consciousness desires to do the material activities first of all, because it is in the pure state. No, then why it gets attracted to material?
Because we are exposed to those activities. See,
Huh?
there are two environments, one spiritual environment, one material environment. When all these elements, if they are in the presence of the spiritual environment, they are influenced or attracted by the spiritual environment and they perform spiritual activities. When the same elements, though pure state, but they are in the vicinity of the material environment, will they not be attracted by the material environment and perform material activities?
I didn't I means I don't understand, Prabhuji, why should they perform material activities? They have just
It is simple. I mean, I will give the same example. Like school children, when they go to ground, when others are playing, looking at them playing, the other students keep quiet or they also start playing something.
yeah, they will also play.
Even though they are wearing fresh clothes, brand new clothes today only they bought, but still by looking at others performing, they are playing the games, they also start playing. The clothes become contaminated by evening. See, I mean to say that.
Yeah.
So I'm giving the playground as an example of material environment. The elements in their constitutional position are pure, But when we are situated ourselves in the surroundings which are filled, in the surroundings, people are performing material activities. By looking at those activities, we are inspired to do the same activities. Are we not?
Yeah.
So that's how we
Yeah.
get attracted to all those activities.
Yeah. And maybe
Unless and
I may be wrong, but
unless until someone is like Jada Bharata, who in the midst of everyone but is not getting affected. But in general, we get attracted to. We are getting affected by surroundings.
yeah. And first
Mm.
of all, like we have been awarded senses, like the jiva has been awarded body, and that
Mm.
along with the senses is for the reason for that is Lord has created this thing for the fulfillment of jiva's desire to enjoy material and separately from
Mm.
the Lord. So
Mm.
that is there. That is why they will get, I think, attracted.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Vinay.
सवासनात्मा विषयोपरक्तो गुणप्रवाहो विकृतः षोडशात्मा बिभृत्पृतन्नाम विरूपभेदम् अन्तर्बहिष्टं च पुरैस्तनोति.
Because the mind is absorbed in desires for pious and impious activities, it is naturally subjected to the transformations of lust and anger. In this way, it becomes attracted to material sense enjoyment. In other words, the mind is conducted by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There are 11 senses and 5 material elements, and out of these 16 items, the mind is the chief. Therefore, the mind brings about birth in different types of bodies among demigods, human beings, animals, and birds. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body.
Yeah. So now the details are coming up. See, when the mind bound by the three modes, like an uncontrolled mad elephant, performs dharmic and adharmic activities with the help of karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. So as Arjuna asked the question in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that why people perform sinful activities as if being controlled by somebody else. So same thing here. The mind, the chief among the 16 elements, endowed with pious and sinful impressions, vasanas, the previous experiences, attached to sense objects, Vishaya Uparakta, agitated by the three gunas, transformed by the emotions, hmm, and emotions transformed by the emotions means um, transformed by the previous experiences and also present circumstances, and supporting different forms through acceptance of different bodies, extends itself higher and lower positions with different names and forms and activities. So why and how is indicated in this verse. The mind, which is the chief of the 16 elements, because it is endowed with the past experiences, good and bad, pious and sinful. So it becomes attracted to sense objects when the sense objects come in the presence in the vicinity, because the mind is agitated by the three gunas and transformed by the emotions one is going through. The mind is constantly goes through vikruti, the transformation through our recent experiences and past experiences, and then plus supporting different forms, accepts different bodies, and performs activities in different species in order to experience different variety of happiness. Sometimes we accept human body, sometimes we accept animal body, sometimes horse body, sometimes donkey, sometimes snake, sometimes devata, asura, gandharva, kinnara, kimpurusha, like that, because we want to have the different variety of experiences. So that's how it goes on. The mind endowed with impressions of piety and sin contaminated with sense objects, agitated by the three gunas, transformed by the lust and other emotions, kama, krodha, lobha, madamoha, mastara. The chief element among the 16, accepting different forms such as devata, animal or human, higher or lower, through bodies, manifests itself with various names. Sometimes the mind will be known as human body, human. Sometimes the mind will be known as animal, sometimes as a plant, reptile, mammal, and devata, asura, kinnara, kimpurusha, like that. The different identities it will take. The mind means subtle body. It will take different identities, having entered into different gross bodies by having different experiences. So this is how one is bound in this material world. This is how the mind is the cause of bondage, because mind is the storehouse of all the experiences, endowed with pious and sinful impressions. Vasana Atma. Mind is called as Vasana Atma. It is the storehouse of all the pious or impious experiences. So this is how the mind is the cause of bondage. When the mind becomes purified of all these previous pious and impious impressions and filled with all the devotional impressions, it will be the cause of liberation. Because whatever impressions are stored in the mind always hankers for the same. Again, again, I want that, I want that. This is what you remember in the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, 8th chapter, text number 5 and 6. Antakale cha mameva swananukta kalevaram. So whoever remembers the Supreme Lord at the time of death, they will attain spiritual world. But who can remember the Lord at the time of death? Whoever remembered the Lord throughout the life. Sada tadbhava bhavita. Whatever we do throughout the life, that is what we remember at the time of death. Whatever we remember at the time of death, that is what we attain. Same way, if mind is filled with the impressions of piety and sinful activities, at the time of death, the mind only remembers these things, and one get the same destination. As a result of the pious activities, one will go to heaven. As a result of the mixed activities, one will remain as a human being. As a result of the sinful activities, one goes to lower species. So this is what happens. So it is like that. So I think we'll stop here. There is exam also. Some devotees will write exam. It is already 7:45. So any questions finally?
No, Guruji, thank you.
Okay. Other devotees?
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for joining, and next week we'll continue.